Good morning. I'm so glad to see you. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. I said I decided to log in early just to make sure I don't have any issues.
I'm so glad. Super glad.
So you've been traveling?
Sorry?
You've been traveling?
I'm in Bangalore.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So I think we left last time at Karan Shariram. I'm a little confused.
Yeah. We finished you see, these are different. So one way of understanding or to get your foundation so that you know what references are to as you go forward is to go with the Sharira Trayam Prakriya teaching model. Now we are getting into another one, which is called the 3 states, Avastha Trayam. The reason you need to have a background information on all these is because very often references may be made to what in Shastra as you study further going into Upanishads and all. So this is basically like your foundation. So now you know the Sukshma Sharira, what leaves the body. That is what travels life after life. That is where your mind is. So all your vasanas, samskaras, memories, everything is stored there. Which is why when sometimes a child is born and they have some knowledge of a kind which they cannot have had at that age. That comes because of a connection with the previous life, Prodigies, for example. Some people even have what's called xenoglossy, the ability to speak in a tongue they've never been exposed to, a foreign language and things like that.
Yeah.
So that comes out of what is stored and how sometimes you're able to access it. Yes. And Karana Shariram actually is just all your potentials, which is why they say that, when you pray every day, there's a whole mass of potentials. What will manifest when in your life, you don't know. Your karma, even certain qualities, certain likes and dislikes. You like something and suddenly you stop liking it, or you dislike something and you suddenly start liking it, or a particular ability or a particular faculty becomes stronger. So this, Karna Shariram is where all the potentials are. So they always say when you pray that let me reach my best potential in every which way. Spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, intellectually, physically, health-wise, whichever way it is, Potentials are all there. You have to ask for grace to be able to tap them. Of course, the order of karma comes in, but at least you tap the grace.
Absolutely. Perfect. Shall we start reading it?
Yeah, let's start.
So Karan Shariram. Next time we shall go to the next body called the Karana Shariram, the causal body. Here also we should see all the 4 features. To begin with, let us see the material of which it is made up. The scriptures say that the causal body is made up of the causal matter, which is the subtlest form of matter. In Tattva Bodha, it is called avidya, a very technical word. Normally, avidya is translated as ignorance. But the word avidya has a technical meaning in Vedanta. It means causal matter, the subtlest form of matter. The next topic is its components. Here we have to enumerate certain basic principles based on which alone we can understand this clearly. We know that matter can never be destroyed. It is a scientific truth. We don't even require the Shastras for this. But we generally talk of destruction of same thing. What we actually mean is a thing going back to its original unmanifest form. This is similar to the destruction of a wave in the ocean. When a wave is destroyed or resolved, the matter which makes up the wave has gone back to the ocean form from which it has appeared. We generally say that it has gone back to the ocean. But can we see the wave in ocean? We will definitely not be able to say which part is the wave and where it has resolved in the ocean. And when we talk of destruction of the wave, we actually mean that the wave has gone back to its unmanifest condition, and from there again it will come back to the manifest state. The wave keeps repeating the process. Similarly, when water gets evaporated during boiling, water disappears. It becomes steam or gas in the atmosphere. It does exist in an invisible form. Extending this, the scriptures say that when all the gross and subtle bodies get destroyed during pralayam, which is a total destruction of universe, then all the gross and subtle bodies go back to the invisible, unmanifest form. This is because matter cannot be destroyed. Thus, the gross body, along with the subtle body, exists in an unmanifest form, which is called the causal body. The causal body is made up of the subtlest form of matter, the fundamental form of which even the scientists have not come to know. Scientists are aware of the grossest matter, which they call as matter. They know also about the subtle matter, which is in the form of energy. But here we're talking the subtlest form of matter in which even different energies resolve and become fundamental. Scientists have succeeded in reducing all forms of energy into 4 or 5 types. They are trying to reach to one fundamental energy from which even these 4 or 5 are formed. Once we reach the most fundamental form of matter, it gets reduced to 1. Scriptures have named that one fundamental form of matter avidya. Let us imagine a state before the creation of the world, that is Shrishti, or after the destruction of the world, that is Pralayam. The physical body cannot be totally destroyed. So too with the subtle body. Both continue to exist before and after the destruction, just as the ornament continues to exist even after melting, not in the form of the ornament, but as gold. Thus, all our sense organs existed, all our minds existed, and all our pranas existed. All our bodies also existed. This form in which they existed is known as Karan Shariram. In the Karan Shariram, the various parts will not be clearly visible, just as the various parts of the tree are invisible in a seed. Hence, the components of the causal body are the physical body and the subtle body present in an unmanifest, undifferentiated causal or seed form. The function of the causal body is to be the ground for the resolution of all the bodies and functions, as well as a source for their origination. Gold is the resolution ground of all the ornaments and is also a source for the origination of all the ornaments. It's like a green room in a drama stage. A green room is a place to which the actors can go to when they are no more playing any role. Not only this, that is the place where all the actors come out also. We do not see the actors, but we know that the actors are in the green room because we see them entering and coming out. All of them exist in differentiated form on the stage, but when they were in a room. I know they exist, but do not know the details. Similarly, Karan Shariram served as a green room for the Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram. When the Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram do not function, they very much exist in the green room of the Karan Shariram. I know the existence, but I do not know the details. Therefore, Karan Shariram functions as a resolution ground and also as a source for the other 2 Sharirams. But it is not involved in any transaction because all transacting organs are dormant. Now we will study the nature of Karan Shariram. We saw that the gross body is gross, experienceable to me and to the others, while the subtle body is experienceable to me, but not to the others. The causal body is neither experienceable to me nor to the others because it is a state in which all transactions have ended, including perception, thinking, and feeling. Thinking and feeling will take place in subtle body alone, in which the mind, intellect, and ego function. But the Karan Shariram, in which the physical and subtle bodies are resolved, the locus and instrument of transaction are resolved. Where is a question of any orientation, any operation or function taking place. There are no more transactions. It is a state of blankness, a transactionless state, and therefore it is not available for me, also because my intellect and mind are also resolved. This happens during pralayam when everything is resolved, when there are no more transactions. Does the Karan Shariram exist at all? It must exist because of the law that matter can neither be created nor destroyed. I do not experience this body because all the divisions in the form of the experiencer and the experienced are resolved. Its nature is fully unmanifest. In Sanskrit, it is called Nirvikalpa state, which means a state when all distinctions like subject and the object are resolved. In the ocean where the waves have resolved, I cannot distinctly see which wave is where. When different rivers are merged in the ocean, I know all the rivers are there, but I will not be able to see where is Yamuna, where is Godavari, etc. They were in the Savikalpa form. The gross and subtle body are the Savikalpa form from where the causal body is Nirvikalpa, where the differences are not evident. So, Rimples, I want you to just explain to us a bit, please.
Yeah. You're not very clear. What is it you want to know, Prachi?
Oh, so yes, I'm understanding that the Nirvikalpa state is there. You can't make out, anything. But before they were made, it was Savikalpa. What is Savikalpa? Like the original where you can see the.
Savikalpa, here basically you can be seen. Yes,
Yeah.
it is in a form. See, the body can be seen by everybody. The mind, I can see. I know what my mind is thinking. But when you go into this Nirvikalpa form, as they call it, which is when you're in Karna Shariram, is operating all the time, because that is where your potentials emerge out of. But at the time of Pralayam, all of Shrishti goes into an unmanifest form.
Right.
How to explain it is like they talked about the seed. See, when you see a seed, you cannot see which part of the seed is the bark of the tree, which are the branches, which is the trunk, which are the leaves, which are the fruit, flowers, nothing. It's all undifferentiated in the seed form. So the same way, as I think I mentioned, scientists call it, because they don't have another word for it, they call it a state of no information. It's called singularity. That is what happens during Pralayam. That is causal body. That is where actually everything is stored. Karmas, your future is also there. So where there is Shrishti happens again, that's a destruction. It is. I don't know if I've explained it properly.
No, I don't know. I mean, I think the connection is also wavering. I think I'm going to change the connection and see what can I be done. I'm not really able to understand. In case we log off, can we log in? I'm sure we'll be able to figure.
Your voice is.
Yeah, there's some problem with the connection. I'm trying to change the connection, but I don't think it's happening.
Basically, the reason of talking about the Sharira Trayam is to understand that, see, there are things beyond what you think you are the physical body. You're not. Actually, you're not even the subtle body or the causal body, your consciousness. They want you to get to that point. But it's like to teach you that whole thing, they explain this. It's as I said, it's called a prakriya, a teaching model. But now, for example, your brain is still inside your skull when you're dead, right? How come you're not able to transact? That is because the subtle body has left and taken the mind with it. All the mediums of transaction are all in the subtle body. When we did the subtle body, it's different components, right? The organs of action, the organs of perception, the mind, the ego, the intellect, and the memory. All that is actually in the subtle body. when the subtle body has left the gross body, everything is there. Your eyes are there, your ears are there, everything is there, but you're not able, you're dead. So what causes that death is the detachment of the subtle body. So
Right.
that explains the connection between the gross body and the subtle body.
Right.
And the subtle body is what will take birth again and again. I think I mentioned last time that how a subtle body books the womb of a mother when, gosh, I'm not getting
When
the
it
word.
wants to
When
reincarnate.
conception happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when conception happens in the womb, a subtle body will come and book that womb. Then no other subtle body will come in there, you know. And that's how birth and rebirth will happen. Causal body is, see, as they say, that scientists also talk about what they call singularity. There is no information. That's why, I mean, the term Vedanta uses vidya. Everything goes into unmanifest form, and it's a form that they can go up to energy. They have not gone beyond energy to that form, whatever it is. So that is where all the Karna Prapancha, let's not talk about the Karna Sharira at this time. Karna Prapancha is a causal universe, entire big crunch. It goes into that causal form. Everything is undifferentiated till it is ready in the cycle to be manifest again.
Right.
Similarly, that is Karana Prapancha, the causal universe. Similarly, our causal body is part of that at the time of Pralaya, but it is actually of time because that is where all your, we're calling it a body for understand. But what it is how do I describe a potential to you? That's actually, you have the potential to, say, become a great pianist. How do I describe where is that potential?
Correct.
It is there. If you work at it and grace is there, that particular samskara will manifest and your talent as a pianist will come to the forefront. They're all potentials. I can't describe it to you that where is it stored? It's part of your stored. So all potentials.
Absolutely. And now the question Nisha has asked us is, I don't know what's the problem with the net.
An order within is what blesses every human being with the same blessing of sight, for example. So if I say pray to the power of sight, who are you going to pray to?
Yeah.
So to manifest it, we say Surya Dev Bhagwan.
Right.
He is the presiding deity for the power of sight. So when you have eye problems, they say chant the Aditya Hridayam, or people with cataracts and this, whatever you chant, you pray to the sun, right? Because that is what gives you the power of sight. So that is a way of embodying a power, because how do you pray to a power otherwise? Similarly, to understand what life is, unless you understand the concept of a Stula Shariram, a Sukshma Shariram. Stula Shariram is easy, we can all see it. But the subtle body and the causal body, you have to understand these concepts to understand what Vedanta is trying to get.
Right, absolutely. So Nisha has asked us a question. Does it mean that all the information stored in the subconscious mind and we manifest? No.
Sorry, all the information stored in the unmanifest mind?
No, she said, does it mean all the information stored in subconscious mind and we manifest? Nisha, I didn't understand. Yeah.
No, let me read. Let me just refer to that question. What has she said?
Yeah.
Yes, all the information is stored there. All your vasanas are stored there. All your habits, your karmas are stored in the causal body. Because you can't say, oh, new causal body, so I start from fresh. No, whatever has happened in one cycle of creation goes into unmanifest form. Everything is stored there. If you've done something wrong, you still have to pay for it the next time round. You can't say, oh, I wiped the slate clean. It's all stored. Nothing gets unstored. It's in unmanifest form. And when creation happens, or say you take rebirth, everything has to be worked out.
Absolutely. So let's read the next section. Avastha Trayam. Now we shall go to the next topic called Avasthatrayam, which is another very important topic in the scriptures. Avasthatrayam means the three stages of experience. They are Jagrat Avastha, the waking state; Swapna Avastha, the dreaming state; Sushupti Avastha, the sleeping state. Jagrat Avastha means the waking state. Let's talk about this. Waking state is that state in which the experiencer functions through the physical body and the sense organs and experiences the external world. When I function through the physical body and all the sense organs in contact the external world, I am in Jagrat Avastha. When I contact the external world, two things happen. One is the experience anubhav of the external world, which is the sthula
Prapancha. Prapancha.
the gross universe. This is the sthula prapancha anubhav. There is another issue. While contacting the external world, the mind records and stores all the experiences in the form of vasanas or impressions. An audio cassette recorder can record only the sound. A video cassette recorder can record the sound, forms, and colors too. But the mind, being far superior, can record shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, and gandha.
Okay, just to explain, these are the 5 organs of perception. Shabda is sound, which you can hear. Sparsha is touch. When we did the components of the Sukshma Shariram, Vayu is supposed to be for touch, right? Rupa is form and color. Eyes can see. Rasa is taste, the organ of the tongue, you can taste. And Gandha is smell, you can smell from your nose. So the mind is able to record all these. The video recorder cannot record taste or smell, no? So that's what they're trying.
Beautiful. So a local audio or compact disc can store only a few hours of a program. Therefore, we have to look for another cassette. We also have to change the cassette. The mind, on the other hand, can record not only for hours, days, weeks, months, years, but also for janmas. When we record a new thing in an ordinary cassette, the previous recording gets erased, but our wonderful mind retains the previous recordings also. Thus, Jagrat Avastha is a state in which recordings in the form of Anubhav and storing in the form of Vasanas take place. Now the next is Swapna Avastha, the dreaming state. The second state is called Swapna Avastha. After recording all our impressions in Jagrat Avastha, when we go to bed and stop functioning through the physical body and sense organs, the external world disappears. My identification with the physical body disappears. I do not know that I have a physical body. Other people know that I have a physical body, but I do not know this. I am no more transacting with the external world through the physical body. But in this Swapna Avastha, I encounter a new world with its own Shabda, Sparsh, Rupa, Ras, Gandha. This is the dream world, which is not an external world, but an inner world. A projected a world born out of the activation of the Vasanas. This inner world is very much similar to the external world. It is a full-fledged world with roads, buildings, people, with the sun and the moon and the planets. In this projected world, we also have our own physical body. It is an inner projected body with all limbs and projected activities. Only after waking up do we know that everything is projected inside our mind. But while dreaming, we do not even know the fact that it is a dream. When I see a snake in dream, believe that the snake is outside me, and that is a real snake chasing me, but I run away from it. Such a state in which the inner world is solidly real, and I do not know it is my projection, is a Swapna Avastha or dream state. According to the scriptures, we get certain dreams based on the vasanas gathered in previous births also. We have to remember that. Between the birth and the previous birth, only the physical body is different. The subtle body continues to be the same. The Gita says that rebirth is like changing the clothes. Behind these different clothes, which are worn and cast away, remains a subtle body, which is the same for all the births. Hence, dreams born of the activation of Purva Janam, vasanas are also possible. Sometimes we develop a liking or hatred for a particular thing without any reason. Some people develop a great love for music when they are still young. Scriptures explain that these people get attracted to the particular person or object through the activation of old vasanas. A child becomes a prodigy because of the activation of the Purva Janma vasanas. Sometimes activation may not be total. In such cases, the memory is vague. I feel a familiarity with some people and objects, but don't have a clear idea about them. It is the activation of the previous Janma vasanas which makes some people feel easily attracted to spirituality. This vasana takes a contributory role in Jagrat Avastha and a prominent role in Swapna Avastha.
So they say that actually very often you say, oh, but I dreamt of something that I have never seen. That could be a previous life memory which is stored in your subtle body. Also, there is, like you might see a rabbit and it has horns. Now you've seen a rabbit, you've seen an animal with horns, they get superimposed. There is no logic to what happens in a dream. But it is projected, the data that is stored in your mind is projected in dreams. And the other thing we were told was that actually you even work out some amount of karma through dreams. It's not as much as you would in waking state, but sometimes so a bad dream may not be a bad thing because some karma is being exhausted.
Nice, very nice. Now we reach to the third state, the sleeping state, Sushupti state avastha. This state of experience is called Sushupti avastha, the deep sleep state. It is a state in which I don't experience the external world because I don't function through the physical body and the sense organs. Since the mind also does not function, the vasanas are not activated. Hence, there is no inner projected world. Only involuntary actions like blood circulation, breathing, digestion go on. There is no conscious, willful functioning through the body. There is total blankness without any experience of either the external world or the inner world.
See, the mind is still active in the dream state, but in the deep sleep state, the mind, only the pranas are functioning, which is your breathing, digestion, respiration, whatever, circulation,
Yes. This state of dreamless sleep is a state of relaxation without any strain. This makes a deep sleep state a very highly refreshing one. Sleep is a natural relaxation which refreshes the physical and subtle body. These three states, the waking state, the dream state, the deep sleep state, are introduced in the Shastras for a particular purpose. The three bodies, the physical body, subtle body, and causal body, cannot be physically separated. And it is not easy to understand them distinctly because they always are together. Therefore, we have to find out the state in which each of them functions prominently so that we will be able to distinctly understand its role. Scriptures say the waking state is an ideal state in which the gross body can be discerned very clearly for. In the waking state, the gross body plays a very important role. During all our interactions, we are referring to the physical body only. In dream state, even though the physical body is there, subtle body plays a predominant role, primarily because the vasanas or impressions are performing an active role. Vasanas belong to the subtle body. Thus, the dream state is an ideal state to understand the subtle body. Finally, the deep sleep state is an ideal state to understand the causal body. In this state, all the functions of the gross body and the subtle body are resolved. The karmendriyas and the gyanendriyas do not function. Thinking or feeling is not there. Even ahankar, the I notion, is resolved. All go back to the causal state called Karan Shariram. Even though the two bodies are not resolved, they are as good as resolved because they are without voluntary functions. Thus, the deep sleep state can serve as a model for pralaya, total dissolution.
So basically, only the causal body is active in deep sleep. Causal body active means that you don't feel anything. You're in such a deep state of sleep.
Very nice. I think the chapter was beautiful. I mean, last Thursday and this Thursday, beautiful chapter.
Because this is very important to understand. How do you explain birth, rebirth, reincarnation, certain habits, why some people are better at certain things than other people, and why do people behave the way they behave? It's all conditioning from previous experiences, which have been gathered over countless lifetimes. You don't even know how many. So as I said to you a little while, as I said to you a little while ago, one of the best prayers I have found is when I pray every day is, please, I pray to Ishvara that let the best potentials there in my Karna Shariram manifest in every aspect of my life. Pray for that.
Beautiful. Very beautiful prayer. So thank you, Dimples, for sharing your light in this beautiful sacred.
Next week we do this the Panchakoshas that will come. You know, these are all. See, once you get familiar with these terms, things you just have to get honed into all these and accept them, read them again if you need to understand. And once you're clear with this, any further study becomes a lot easier.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prachi.
Thank you, Dimples. Thank you so much. God bless us all. Thank you.